Hi everyone, this is Maddie from Maddie Goes All in Eating Disorder Recovery, however you want to call it. I'm really happy today because I have a very special guest in an interview, Jessie Riemann. I cut to the bones. We'll talk about, eating and eating disorder, how to heal, how to deal with weight gain. There she is. Hello, Jessie.
Hi, I'm so honored and grateful to be here. Thank you for
There
having
she
me.
is.
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're here. Actually, one of my viewers told me that I should have a look at your channel and that you're creating amazing content due to eating order recovery. And I had a look at it, and I was really amazed how you covered all these different aspects. And from my own experience, I know it's a lot. So
Yes.
maybe if you want to say some words about yourself and how you actually really started with the whole eating disorder journey, how it started with you and how you discovered, recovery.
Sounds good. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Jessie Riemann. I'm a certified eating disorder recovery coach and personal trainer, as well as a manifestation coach. So to kind of brief this, because of course we could do the whole interview just talking about story. I never really had weight issues or food issues growing up, but all it took was I was like in puberty, and that's when your appetite goes up. You're naturally starting to put on more weight, and all it took was one person saying to me, maybe you could stand to lose a little bit of weight. And I think again we'll get into this later when we get into like root cause. But since I was already such a people pleaser and a perfectionist, and this was never an area of my life that I'd ever had to like worry about trying to perfect before.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it just kind of like that part of me was like, oh my God, I need to get this under control.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so started dieting when I was like 13 years old. And I think it's so common. There are so many of my clients who have started so much younger, which is so sad. So it kind of progressed from I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the Slim Fast diet in Germany.
I don't think
Okay.
so.
It's like one of those like drinking the shakes and then you eat one meal a day that's
Yeah.
supposed to be. Okay.
Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So it started from there, and I think once I saw that I was losing weight, I got like hooked, right? And it just became more and more restrictive to the point where it really turned into full-blown anorexia. Just to not trigger anybody, I don't want to like list or talk about exact numbers of how much I weighed or anything, unless you would like for me to, but typically I don't. Okay.
It's fine like that, yeah.
Okay. And I got very underweight, and the funny thing is, it's like going to doctors. I started to have all these health problems, right? And nobody ever asked me about my eating. And even my dad, he could totally see what was happening to the best of his ability, right? Because so many parents don't even know what to do when they see their kids with these kind of behaviors, right? So he tries to take me to the doctor at one point and saying, I'm really concerned about how underweight she is. And because I was at the very on the smaller end of the BMI for my weight range, the doctor was like, oh no, she's fine as long as she doesn't lose any more weight. Keeping in mind, I, completely lost my period. I was growing like hair all over my body to keep my body warm.
Yeah,
I was
wow.
super pale. Tons of digestive problems, getting sick all the time. Like I missed so much school. Especially the latter part of my junior year of high school and then senior year. You would think, right, that you would ask those kind of questions. So it was like the end of senior year of high school, and I saw this couple of movies in a health class about eating disorders, and it kind of just like hit me, oh my God, I have an eating disorder. So I realized, okay, maybe I should start eating a little bit more, but then I panicked as soon as I started to put on a little bit of weight. And then it turned into binging and purging. So it turned into bulimia, sadly.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, as opposed to the result that I thought it would have, I continued to gain weight periodically, just slowly over time. So then came doing like 2 hours of cardio a day. And it still wasn't getting better. So then I started to get more into fitness, thinking, oh, that'll solve the problem, right? All I have to do is just learn whatever it is that I'm not doing right.
Yeah.
Again, like I'm still purging at this point.
Wow. Oh my God. Yeah.
And go ahead. Did you have something you were saying?
No, yeah, it's just, hearing all these stories, it's always kind of the kind of similar way how it just went worse and worse and worse. And, people just try to fix it somehow, and they still think, I have to push harder, I have to be more rigid, I have to be more perfect. But this is just exactly the wrong thing to do, and we don't know about it. So it's so tragic, actually, really, to hear that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right. Yeah. So then I started to research like weightlifting,
Mm-hmm.
and that turned into a whole other full-blown obsession. Started, training heavy, thinking. I remember thinking at the time, well, these women who, have big muscles and all this stuff, I was like, well, maybe I could be okay with being like bigger
Mm-hmm.
if I was muscular, and like, how can this be unhealthy? Because like you have to eat, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
eating like 5 to 7 times a day. How could this be unhealthy? So started doing that. And then I think because my whole world was revolved around this, I was like, maybe I should become a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. Again, the first couple of years, I was still binging and purging.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay?
I had the same story also, because I
Did you?
exercised so much that I thought like I have to make money with it. Otherwise I couldn't fit it in my day anymore. So I became a personal trainer as well.
Oh, wow.
Like a fitness trainer, and then for groups and all that. And yeah, it's funny.
Wow. It's so amazing how, and I should have said this too, but I can just kind of slip it in here to prove a point.
Yeah.
Those of us who get involved with, restrictive eating and eating disorders, so many of us then get into either fitness careers or food careers
Mm-hmm,
of some kind.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And prior to fitness, I was a baker and a cake decorator. Yeah. Like, I'll just be around food if I can't eat it, right? So, yeah, that's crazy. And so then that progressed forward. I was like, I'm going to be a fitness competitor. So I was literally training like super heavy and super hard, 2 to 2.5 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
5 or 6 days a week, plus fasted cardio for like 45 minutes every single morning.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Doing the whole, chicken, rice, and broccoli 5 times a day. Well, all the while my health kept getting worse, and especially for me, my digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
So kept going to all kinds of doctors and naturopaths, and nobody was really finding out what was wrong with me. And then they were doing elimination diets. And,
Mm-hmm.
at one point I was down to only being able to like tolerate like 10 foods or something,
Wow.
trying to be a bodybuilder at the same time.
Yeah.
And then there was like toward the end of, right before I quit bodybuilding, my health was just like at its worst. Couldn't eat anything without getting super bloated.
Mm.
Even with all that exercise and super strict eating, I couldn't get past a level of leanness. So I was like, okay, maybe I really do need to fix my health at this point.
Yeah.
So with the best of intentions, I'm getting out of this. And then I fall into things like paleo,
Yeah.
autoimmune paleo, keto. I'm trying to think of all the body ecology, all these different diets that promised gut healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
All it would do is like maybe control a couple of symptoms or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just wasn't getting better. And I was so miserable all the time, trying to run my own business as a personal trainer. And so I could barely work. Thank God for all my clients who were so patient with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just didn't know what to do. And it was like 3 months before I discovered recovery, I started working with this life coach who really focused on helping me to build self-love and
Mm-hmm.
self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like just enough to get me to kind of start believing in myself. I got out of a 5-year toxic relationship. And I just, again, because I believe in manifestation, which I know we're going to get into at some point, I know that this all lined up, at least for me, the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
So it was like right after that, I was researching online. I think it was because I was having thyroid issues at the time too. I believe it was like how to heal your metabolism for your thyroid or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure like the first person I came across was Elisa Orles of Follow the Intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even think I had an eating disorder anymore, right? Because
Mm.
I'm just trying to eat healthy for my gut. This is
Yeah.
true of so many people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, I remember breaking down in tears, just being like, oh my God, I have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I still have an eating disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working with this naturopath at the time who did a gut, DNA stool test,
Mm-hmm.
found a whole bunch of infections in my gut.
Mm.
So he was then preaching that I should be still eating super strict paleo, uh, and on all these supplements to kill off the infections. Well, because I had already done that, right, for so
Mm-hmm.
many years up
Mm-hmm.
to this point, I tried to explain the recovery process to him as I was learning about it. He wasn't about it at all, right? So,
Yeah.
oh, no, you can't heal because you're feeding the infections
Yeah.
and blah, blah, blah. And I just made this decision. I was like, you know what, Jessie, you've already done all this stuff. You owe it to yourself
Yeah.
to just really do this thing and try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I didn't listen to him and forward with the recovery process. So I don't know if you wanted to continue on from there, but that's basically
Yeah.
nutshell the backstory.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Like again, so many similarities also to many women I spoke, and I'm sure
Wow.
also with some of your clients as well, right?
Oh,
So for you, like going into recovery, I don't know, is it the same for like when we talk about all in? It's just like, unrestricted eating whenever you want, how much you want, and also really take rest and not exercising for amount of time until you feel like, you have your eating at a certain point where you feel like, okay, now I actually feel like I would like to exercise a little.
right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was certainly like the process that it was explained to me online.
Yeah.
That was my intention, but I have to just be honest, right? And say that I didn't go complete. I mean, I still kept some food rules and
Mm-hmm.
restrictions
Mm-hmm.
right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all this to any of you listening to say, please don't make this mistake. Please go all in right from the start. So I held on to some paleo rules, but like at first within that, I ate completely unrestrictedly. And then as I kind of saw that I wasn't gaining full freedom that way, and I was
Mm-hmm.
still afraid of things like grains and sugar and
Mm-hmm.
gluten and stuff like that, right? I just was like, okay, I need to do this whole thing. So I definitely, again, in retrospect, it was good data because it showed me like it doesn't work unless you really do it all
Mm-hmm.
the way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, I wish I would have done it up front, but I didn't. So at least now I have that experience to be able to
Totally.
share with people.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
And didn't take exercise out right away, which in retrospect I should have because it definitely delayed my process.
Yeah.
So eventually I did that too. Yeah.
Yeah. With delaying, how long would you say was until you really started to go all in and at to the point where you felt you were actually recovered? Can you really pinpoint that time, or is that kind of?
Such a good question. And people have asked me this before, and I think it was somewhere around the 1.5 to 2 year mark, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have to take that long. And again, I always say this,
Yeah.
but considering yourself fully recovered doesn't even mean like losing overshoot yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be fully recovered before anything's changed with your weight, because it's really about having that food freedom,
Yes.
relationship with exercise, and again, yourself.
Yeah.
So
I don't know about you. Like I really felt the moment where I felt like, food was not an interest to me anymore. Like I didn't go crazy about it. And it was really a switch. And from there, I knew now I'm good. Now I'm really, off the hook. Although I was still on a very high weight, I would say. But I felt like, okay, I'm done with this now. I'm this is good now. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And that's the great thing about it, which I think it's one of the notes that I made for one of your questions, is just like having that food freedom. And
Yeah.
I think you think it's going to happen, and then it does, and you're just like, I really don't care about food anymore unless I'm hungry, and then that's it, you
Yeah,
know?
it's really magical, and
So,
I'm still amazed that this happened, to me because I was
sure.
so obsessed with food. I was thinking about it nonstop because I was so hungry all the time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so what I would like to know is the some of the three most important things that really also you have learned through your recovery, and also that might have to change from the time before and after. Like really, the things that really maybe improved your life as well. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. You mean as a result of being in recovery?
Yes, yeah.
Oh my gosh, having a life outside of food and my body, and that that it's actually possible, having the space to think about and pursue other interests. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I think back, I had all these dreams and all these goals before my eating disorder, and then they just stopped
Mm-hmm.
because, as you know from your experience, um, that's all you can think about,
Yeah.
and you really can't pursue anything else until you go through recovery. And so I'm just so grateful that it really, I again, this sounds so like corny and cliche, but it's like it really gave me my life back.
Yeah.
You know,
I,
you
g-
feel the same way?
I can totally relate to that, and I think you really have to experience it. Otherwise, you don't know how it feels like, and it's for me,
Yeah.
it's night and day. Like if I
Wow.
would have back then, met me in the future, it's like I wouldn't think that this is me, that this is possible.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
yeah.
That's so amazing. What eating disorder or eating disorders did you recover from?
I had like really just but anorexic. So I was just restricting and heavily exercising. So I was very low in weight and kept going back and forth. And I'm really tall, so I lost weight really quickly. And then I tried, like the what was that the restriction, the fasting, intermediate fasting, that really gave me the last kick, and also the paleo, all these different diets because I wanted to become leaner and leaner, and then I was exercising a lot, but it was just a disaster. So at the
Yeah.
end, I'm almost 40 now, and when I went into recovery, I was
What? What? I seriously thought you were like maybe 28 or
oh,
something.
that's nice. Thank you. But no, I'm much older.
Well, keep
Which makes
doing
it
what you're
hard.
doing.
Which makes it hard for me because I was at that age, and people told me like, with your hormones, and this will be difficult. You shouldn't do this, and don't try any experiments with your weight and all that. But I thought either I try this now, or I don't know what else to do. So I have to do this. And we were also like we have a child wish, and haven't had my period in years, so I was diagnosed with oh my god, that word, the
I don't
yeah.
even know
Anyways,
the one.
so it was a whole disaster, but yeah, I'm good now. I'm healthy. I'm happy, and that's why I really try to put also that channel a little forward, because I want to help people with that, and I want to
Yeah.
help women with that, because I know how hard it is to be in that situation and to don't find your way out. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, why did you also then decide to become an eating disorder coach? I mean, you could have said, no, I'm good. I'm living my life. But obviously, that was really something that you picked up on. And
Yeah. Yeah. I think because at that point, I think I had already been a trainer for like 9 years.
oh, okay, yeah,
And this knowledge of recovery,
yeah,
it it humbled me. It made me have to suck up my pride and go, what I've been teaching people all these years is wrong.
mm-hmm,
And I owe it to them and to like, my responsibility as a trainer to
yeah,
teach this to other people,
yeah,
you
that's
know.
true.
And so I started with the clients that I had at that time, and I just explained to them, what I was going through.
Mm-hmm,
And then um, literally, talk to each one individual and was like, I'm so sorry, the stuff that I taught you, I didn't know,
yeah,
but it's wrong. And let me explain to you why.
yeah,
And they were all like super amazing about it, which was so cool. And
yeah,
then to get to watch their lives change as a result of learning this information and going
mm-hmm,
through this process, so gratifying. So it was when I started doing more of it was actually when 2020 and all that that shall not be named in March, and I was just like, I have this opportunity to meet more people online, and I'll start expanding coaching more, and it kind of just took off from there.
Very nice. Yeah. I like that. It's the best motivation to really just, kind of bring your knowledge out there and really help people with that. So I can imagine that must have been hard for you to gain weight, because as a personal trainer, this was your you were your product. And then how did you deal with the weight gain? And also, you kind of lost your identity on the way too, being a personal trainer, being trained and fit and thin and all that. And it just went out of the window.
You're right. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's so, and whether you're a trainer or not, it's still something so many people like deal with. But I think, again, for one thing, I was like, when I go into that gym to do my job, I need to be a professional. So again, like, I think first, it was most important to me that my clients understand what I was going through.
Yeah.
So that, because all of a sudden your trainer's putting on all this weight. Well, if you don't understand and you're going by typical standards, you're going to be like, this girl doesn't even know what she's talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, I think, I don't know, I guess the relationships I had built with them and all they had seen me struggle with my health, they were just like, hey, whatever you have to do. So they were super understanding about it. I think that's such an important thing to bring up, is like, people get so scared to tell anyone that they're going through this.
Yeah.
And you really take power away from the eating disorder, for one, by talking about it. And two, it's like you really find who your real like support team and your friends are by saying, hey, you know what? I'm going through this. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but like, it would mean the world to me if you could just encourage me and keep telling me that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So telling people in my personal life, that helped tremendously, because even though they didn't understand it, letting them know what I was going to need and explaining this process to them was so helpful. And I know that not everyone has super supportive people, which is why, whether you get involved in like a recovery community or you hire a coach, it's so crucial to make sure you have supportive people around you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, man, this is where mindset really kicked in. And I just really started working on building self-love and self-confidence. And when I would go in that gym every day, I'd be like, even if they're going to think this stuff about me, I have no control over that. What I have control over is I can still choose to, smile and be myself with people and remember why I'm doing this in the first place. That everything all these people are doing in this gym, I've done, and it doesn't work. So I can look at them every day and go, oh, this girl is so much leaner than me. But at the same time, be like, yeah, but I tried that and look what happened to my health. And being in that industry for so long, I know how these people are feeling every day. They're not healthy. They're not happy. All they talk about is food and their weight and how much cardio they have to do that day. So I was like, it was just almost like this constant reminder of why I left,
Yeah.
So even though the weight gain was tough, and I would wear comfortable leggings and like baggy, like a sweatshirt that was like off the shoulder. So it was still kind of stylish. And then I'd still like do my makeup and stuff. You don't have to do makeup if that's not your thing. That's that helped me.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was like keeping in mind, like women that I knew in my personal life, as well as maybe like celebrities that I loved, who maybe were like my size or bigger than me. I thought, and who I thought, seemed really comfortable and confident in their own skin. And I thought, you know what? If she can feel that way about herself, what's holding me back from doing that decision? Right? And it's not going to happen overnight, but it was this thing that I just kept working on every day. It was like, I still have worth outside of my body. So, I could get all into building self-love and what I did for that, but I want to let you continue with this.
Yeah. I mean, you already kind of addressed a lot of important things. So I'll just like sort a little bit out. Oh, there's a big water bottle. I like that one. Wow. And you look so nice with the colors and all that. Just
Thank
really,
you.
really beautiful.
Thank you. I love like neon, like 80s colors.
Yeah, it fits you really well though.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, maybe we'll keep on we stay on the weight gain, because I think that's the most important topic for all of the women I've met. And they all ask me, how did you deal with the weight gain and what should I do to get it off and all that. And maybe we start about your 3 things that would you, if someone asks you, what are your 3 best tips to deal with weight gain? Yeah, that's actually the question.
Okay. Okay, so I mean, there's so much that could go into this. So I just tried to get as specific as I could with 3 things. All right, so number 1 that I would say is get rid of your scale.
Yes, big thing.
Do your very best to stop body checking. You're going to see yourself in the mirror and stuff, but it's just the reason that you're in the habit of looking in the mirror and checking yourself out from all these different angles is because it's a habit.
Yeah.
You can break that habit. It's not helping you, right? Even if you looked exactly the way you think you should, it still isn't really helpful. Look at how if I was doing that right now, I'd be like this. I'm not present in the conversation, right? All I'm doing is thinking about how I look. I can't even live life that way. So I guess I put all these 3 together, and then make sure that you're wearing clothes that are comfortable. Because what I see is a lot of people will keep trying to fit into their old clothes just because they just can't live with going up in size. And it's just all that's going to do, if your clothes are cutting into you, all it's going to do is make you think about your stomach and all this stuff. And your brain is already trained to think that if your clothes fit tightly, that you're fat.
Yeah.
So the way we train the brain to not think that way about yourself is not doing things anymore that trigger your brain to go there, right? So that's the whole spectrum first. It's get rid of your scale, and then the other thing I was going to say about clothes is yes, when you're lounging around the house, totally, wear whatever you want to wear, but make sure that some of the time you're wearing stuff that actually makes you feel good. You can look up ideas on Pinterest. I promise you guys, there are ways to dress your larger body, and you're just not used to it, right? You don't know how to do it because you don't have any practice. But if you look up examples of other people who've done it, you'll get ideas. And then you won't, again, because people will isolate altogether. They don't go out with friends anymore. They won't go to a wedding. And it's you're going to keep yourself stuck in quasi recovery by not going out and living life. And I know it's tough, but you will get used to it. And when you work on the mindset piece with this, you're proving to your body, hey, I love and accept you no matter what. I'm not going to hold you back from living life because you gain weight. So then the next one, which this segues nicely, is building and developing a self-love practice. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but obviously I talk about this a ton on my channel, is affirmations. Working with a therapist if that's in the budget for you. Working on, I talk about this so much, working on your self-talk and changing your negative self-talk is so crucial to dealing with weight gain. The longer you stay stuck in this place where all you're talking about is, oh my God, I can't, oh my God, I'm so disgusting, and oh, I look so terrible, and this is never, that's not going to create any kind of positive change within your body. The mind-body connection is so real. And if we start practicing talking to ourselves in a more compassionate, understanding, love, empowering way, we're not going to see any kind of positive change.
You just attract more of what you don't want, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the third thing, it kind of goes together. I think I said something about therapy, but what I am a really big fan of is discovering your root cause underneath the eating disorder in the first place. And then healing your inner child, your inner self from all of the wounds that took place before the eating disorder even started. When you do that, I'm telling you, loving yourself is so much easier because you've gone back and healed what it was that needed to be healed all along.
Yeah, I might pick up on that because in one of your videos you said all eating disorders are because of a lack of self-love and self-worth. So that's basically what you guess started to say, and maybe just like a little introduction from my place. Like I was so afraid for years to gain weight. Like it was a fear beyond crazy. Like I was so afraid. It was really like a fear of death, right? It was crazy, like just not gaining a little more weight, but I felt like I will die if I do this. And I always wondered where that come from, because it was such a strong fear. And so I went to an alternative healer and all that, and we looked deeper, and it turned out that, deeply forgotten, there was a remembering when I was a child, a teenager, there was some sort of abuse. And I was just so afraid of gaining weight to become more woman-like, to look like a woman. So I was so afraid of that because that really meant danger for me, right? I had that deep down in my consciousness. And once I discovered that, and once we worked on that, that fear was almost gone. Like from one day to another, I couldn't believe it. And that was the part for me where I was able to go all in. Before I couldn't, like I was so afraid. And that's always my story, to say, you have to look deeper. It's not enough to start eating more, because you will come to a point where your fear will tell you something, and then you have to dig deeper. I know it's hard, and I know it's holding many people back, and they say, recovery is not working for me, all in is not working for me, I keep gaining weight, I'm having health issues, so I stop now and go back to restriction. And I say, wait, yeah, but I think you have to look deeper. It's not only about the body thing, it's about the things that keep you away from it, right? So thank you for applauding that, because, it's hard if you don't have the understanding that there is a lot in your unconsciousness going on that you don't know about it. And yeah, that it really takes time, and also your openness and your willingness to look within yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I could not have said that better. That was, I love that you did that work, because you're right. It's so hard and it's so painful, but without discovering that, I mean, you just said it, you wouldn't have ever been able to get where you did with your recovery. And so like, I just want to give you so much credit for doing that work on yourself. That's huge.
Thank you. It was really a breakthrough, because with that, a lot of emotions came, like anger. I was always so angry and I didn't know why. Like fear, rage, and just a deep fear of anything. And from there, a lot of other stuff came up, but that was really the most important thing. And I don't want to say that this has to be the case for anyone, but I'm sure that there's always something that triggered it. Maybe, as you said, in the childhood, someone said to you, or you might lose a little bit of weight because you look better. And then you have that in your mind. You feel like, oh, if I lose a little weight, I might be more worth as a human being, which is totally, I mean, I don't want to say that word, but yeah,
well, if you don't want to say it, like, it's BS, okay?
It's totally bullshit to say that. And
for me, it was like, I mean, yes, there was that comment, but prior to that, there was a lot of like emotional abuse from my mother that caused me to become this like super people pleaser. So even though it wasn't even her that made that comment about my weight, it was just like, oh my God, one more thing that's not perfect enough about me.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's so important to know what that root cause is, so that you can go back and heal it. Because when you do that, you're like making the part of you that got traumatized feel loved and accepted the way you were, which just makes it so much easier now to be like, oh, I can love and accept this body that's larger than I'm used to.
Yeah. And also what I think is that your body at the end, he just wants to be your best friend. That's why he's leading you into these situations, like having this fear about something is a kind of a task for you to look deeper, and then to ask your body, why are you afraid of something? Why do you feel tense, or why do you have that illness? I had a constant problem with my knee that actually kept me from fitness for a while, but I was just not listening to my body. I kept going because I was afraid gaining weight. So I have really, my knee was, at the end, it was just broken kind of, and now it's healed because I was not exercising for a long time. And it was just a sign of my body, just like, stop, Madeline, stop, you have to stop. So all these things, I think for many people, it's, your body you put into food and then you use it every day and that's it. But this is your vessel for your life, for experiencing everything. And your body knows better than anybody else out there. No dieting or anything will ever tell you what your body needs. So that's my huge thing that I really discovered in my recovery journey. And I'm sure you can relate to that too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. Such a great point. Yeah, you're obviously you get it, and there's the reason you're doing this because now you're helping so many other people, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a certified eating disorder coach or anything. I'm a biologist by trade, so but at least I understand, like
Wow.
the whole biology behind that. And I was always asking myself, even I was a biologist during my whole studies, I never questioned why I don't have my period. I mean, you have to think about this. Like even me as a biologist, that's ridiculous. Yeah. And I know so many women who have the same, and I talk to them and ask, do you have your period? And I said, no, but it's not so important. I don't want to have kids. And I said, it is important. Your estrus level and all that, you'll really, the health is so important and depends on your hormones. And I would have never believed it after going all in to become a happy, healthy woman after. So that's incredible.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's so funny that you say that because I remember that being one of my things in my, late teens when I was like, well, at that point, now I don't know, but at the time I was like, I never want kids, so it's fine. But you're right. It's like, it doesn't matter whether you ever want kids. It's truly about a healthy, functioning body.
Yeah, and your hormones are responsible for so many things. It starts with your bone density, with the way the fat is distributed in your body and all that. So, yeah.
You're right. You're right.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the manifestation. I think that's such an important aspect, and I think I haven't really met a lot of eating disorder recovery coaches, but I know that not many of them really focus on the manifestation and leave that out. But I think it's an essential point that I also discovered during my process, not only from the All In, but also becoming like an author and finishing my PhD and all that. It helped me to really manifest that from my mind. So maybe you can shortly explain what manifestation is and how you use it. So it's already late here, so my English is, but you know what I mean.
I personally think your English is great, so I don't know what you're talking about.
It's getting worse in the evening.
I experience that so much with people from other countries who will like write to me and stuff, and I'm like, why are you apologizing? Your English is better than a lot of people here.
Well, I have the advantage. My fiance, he's Canadian, so we talk English most of the time. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're completely bilingual. I'm not presently, so kudos. So obviously this is a belief system. You have it, I have it. Long story short, it's basically making everything that you want to experience in life a reality through your thoughts and your beliefs. So what do I want to say about it first? Okay, so basically you are going to manifest whatever thoughts you have that are on repeat. Okay. And you're manifesting all the time, whether you know it or not. So it's more beneficial, obviously, in our opinion, if you know that you're a conscious manifester, because then the more aware you can be of your thoughts, you can change them and actually start manifesting what you want. So when people are asking me things like, why is this always happening? And why, if we even talk about like recovery overshoot, why can't I lose overshoot? And why isn't recovery working for me? And and right there, I would say, look at your thoughts. Look at exactly how you're talking about this. It doesn't work. I can't do this. My body keeps gaining weight. Now, keeping in mind, like we already said, like the emotional piece, like healing that. I'm not telling you to ignore that by any means. But in the meantime, they go really well together. If you're aware of your negative thoughts, then you go, okay, I know what needs healing. But then in terms of manifestation, you say, well, no wonder I keep manifesting the things I don't want because that's all I talk about. It's all I think about, right?
Yeah.
And it's not your fault. We were all trained to be honest, realistic, right? Oh, I don't have a lot of money. Well, why would you say, why would you start thinking thoughts like, oh, I'm really prosperous and I make money easily,
Mm-hmm.
when clearly my bank account doesn't show that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not your fault when you're used to thinking these kind of things. And the other thing is, when you start to get into manifestation, I'm assuming you saw this same thing, is that, it really takes being very consistent with
Mm-hmm.
changing your thoughts and change, which therefore change your beliefs over
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Because a belief is nothing more than a thought you keep thinking over and over and over,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
That it's difficult at first to change your thoughts and your beliefs because you're used to thinking these negative things like your entire life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you've been thinking negative thoughts about your body for your whole life, then it's going to take a little bit of time to start getting used to
Yeah.
thinking thoughts like, hey, I love and accept my body. My body, I have a really healthy metabolism that's super easy to maintain, right?
Yeah,
Stuff
yeah,
like that. I can eat whatever I want and be able to,
yeah,
have a super healthy, fit body, or whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You can't do that in a place of continuing to think thoughts like my body is so fat and disgusting and da
mm-hmm,
da da.
mm-hmm,
And you cannot do that from a place of self-hate. It's
yeah,
impossible.
yeah,
You're just going to keep manifesting the same thing. So
yeah.
go ahead.
I just maybe because for many people, I think this is a really weird abstract idea that they're able to manifest their world around them. But maybe it makes it a little easier because that helped me to understand from the beginning. Because I was always a very logical person. I did my PhD, I studied, and I could never really think out of the box like that. So,
Totally.
but then someone told me, it's like, you have all your senses, you have your eyes, your ears, and without them, you wouldn't realize what's going around you. Without you, the world wouldn't exist because it needs someone to sense everything around you. And then also that what you see outside is actually a reflection from what's happening within you. You kind of attract. There are a lot of videos about law of attraction and these things, and so I started thinking about it. But the one thing that really hit me was, if you had an idea about maybe writing a book. Without this idea, this book would have never been real. So it's the same with all your other ideas that you have in your mind. You might think, oh, I wanna have this, and you have to have that thought first, and then you put it into reality. And it's the same with everything else. So whatever you want to have, you have to think it first, and then you can put it into reality, and it really works. So I was really
Right.
doubtful, but with me, it manifested so many things like. Yeah, it's amazing. And if you open up yourself a little more and you might think a little further with energy and soul and spirit and all that, you can go down the whole road and it makes it just more clear and more understandable, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's whether you are coming from a more spiritual perspective, which I wasn't either when I first got into this. I was all about logic. I literally considered myself agnostic because
Yeah,
I was like, I don't really believe in anything,
yeah,
but and I don't know, like you said, like once I started learning about manifestation, I started paying attention to things that I had manifested that I was like, whoa, that there's no way that could have been coincidence.
yeah, it's true.
So yeah, you can approach it. And, just like if you are approaching this from a scientific perspective, quantum physics really do a great job of
Mm-hmm.
explaining
Mm-hmm.
how all this works. So, if watching this, you want to look at this from a more scientific perspective. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then just like the mind body connection,
Mm-hmm.
so like if I say, they've proven, like, have you ever heard of the Dr. Emoto experiment where he would take
Yeah.
water and like speak, okay,
Mm-hmm.
really awful negative things to
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
part of the water and play it really like awful, like negative music and stuff. And then this one over
Mm-hmm.
here was really positive words. I know, I'm just kind of saying it for
Yeah, yeah,
other
yeah.
people.
No, it's good.
And really like pleasant classical music or whatever, and then a standard one that didn't change at all, and then
Mm-hmm.
froze all this water, looked at the crystals under a microscope,
Mm.
and saw that the ones with the, like, I hate you, you're ugly, that kind of stuff, the crystals froze in this really erratic kind of pattern. I think there was a lot of like brown discoloration even too.
Yeah.
And then the ones where there was like very positive, loving words and messages being sent, there were like these beautiful, like snowflake looking
Yeah.
crystals.
Yeah.
And, they've done this on plants, on all kinds of stuff to prove truly what we can just look at it even as energy.
Mm-hmm.
how we affect other energies. Everything's energy, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how we speak to it and treat it with our energy. So that goes for us too.
Yeah.
If you're
Absolutely.
mistreating yourself and talking bad about, your body and the way you look,
Yeah.
can you really expect to see a positive shift?
Yeah, and I
So,
mean, if you still don't believe it, it won't hurt to try. So you can still, just like do it. And every morning you brush your teeth, you can just like, say something nice to yourself and really try to think something nice. I also have a clock that I kind of set up every hour. So at least I remind myself, because sometimes you slip back into it and stuff.
You're absolutely right. Yep. That's a whole other interview we could do about slipping.
It's true. So I have one more important question that might just also be a little provocative. So do you really think that going all in works for everyone? Because I had 2 cases from a woman that kind of wrote me and they said, I tried it, I gained a lot of weight, I was already over 100 kilos, and then I got health issues, and I felt really depressive. And for me, it just didn't work. So I stopped and went back to exercising, and now I feel much better. I'm not so depressed anymore. My first thought was like, I think you should have kept going, just from my feeling, because I think now you just start the cycle all over again. Although you might have had health issues at that point, you might have just looked at something else. There was something more you had to look at. What would you say?
Oh my God, I couldn't, again, you're so good. I could not.
Thank you.
Everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, 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 preach. High five. Yeah, it's every time I get a client that comes to me with the same exact kind of story, there's always another mental emotional piece. It's the same reason why people ask me, if this process works, then why are there obese people?
Yeah.
And I can speak to this as a personal trainer too, because that was a lot of what I dealt with in my career. And having talked to these people, you always see that there is a mental emotional piece where things like, they're always talking about themselves like, oh, obesity runs in my family. I just look at a donut and I gain weight. And then they're guilting themselves about when they do pound down a bag of chips, or then they're going, okay, Monday I'm going to start a diet, and then they binge, and then they guilt trip themselves, and they feel awful, and then they repeat the whole cycle, and it just keeps repeating. And as you know, with how your set point weight keeps changing every time you go through this process, each time you diet and then allow yourself to eat enough to where you start gaining weight back, you gain a little bit more weight back than last time, because it's your body's way of going, this might happen again, so we got to have the protective mechanism in place. If you keep this cycle going, you're going to keep gaining and gaining and gaining. And both the restrictive process, the over-exercise, so the physical aspects, as well as just the self-hatred, all that, it's going to do a number on your health. Again, your mind is so connected to your body. And physical ailments, when all of a sudden people are saying, now obviously some of it gets worse because when your body's not used to taking in all this kind of food and rest, you get super swollen and all your organs are going into overdrive with healing. And they do heal long term. I have seen this happen every person I've ever worked with. Okay. When it's not working, it's exactly what you said. There's another piece that has to be dealt with on a much deeper level. That, yes, it's scary, it's painful, you're not going to want to do it because it's challenging, but when you do, you'll get to where this stuff just, you don't have these major issues anymore. And anytime something does come up, like a health issue or chronic pain, you kind of deal with it the same way. It's like, what is my body trying to tell me? Because you said this earlier, it's like your body's trying to be your best friend. It's giving you these symptoms as a way of going, I need your help, I need your attention. You tune into it, you can really find out what it is on an emotional level without going, oh no, I have to go back to dieting, because that's not going to fix the problem. You're going to be right back where you started. You're going to have to do it all over again. You're going to gain even more weight next time. So like, why not get it over with now? Right. So I do believe it does work for everyone. But again, there's that deep emotional piece. So,
Yeah, but it's good to hear that because again, I'm not trained at that. I have my own experience. I talked a lot
sure.
to many people who are kind of seeing my videos and then trying to ask for help. I always say, there is no guarantee. I just can tell you from my experience, you better look for a certified eating disorder coach, which I can highly recommend you as well. So
Thank you so much.
um,
You're so sweet.
I think it's really important to, talk to someone who, first of all, had it themselves too. They
Yeah,
need to have the experience, but also really know all the faults, the pitfalls you can fall into. And I think
right,
that's
right.
why maybe you had these little mistakes at the beginning, so now you really know, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. And
I
it's true for anyone else. It's like, don't get down on yourself if you like relapse a little. Now you have
yeah,
information to say, okay, I know that doesn't work, you know?
yeah,
I think the other thing I just wanted to say is like my oldest client, we call it client, is 67. It's my father, and the process is working for him.
wow.
So age is not a limiting factor.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. And also, usually I just hear that from women. I rarely have heard about men going all in. So
Yes,
that's interesting.
yes, right. Well, I don't think he even thought about it like he had an eating disorder per se. It was
Yeah,
like dieted a lot growing up,
yeah.
but it wasn't like, I don't think the same emotional things as a woman. But then he had Crohn's disease a few years
Mm-hmm.
ago. And at the time, I thought I was helping him by like telling him to go keto. So it like helped fix a lot of symptoms, but then gave him a whole bunch of other issues around food because it was so restrictive.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when I had already gotten fully recovered, he had asked me like, "Do you think this process would work for me?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So
Mm-hmm.
it's just really you're right. It's like men go through this stuff too. They
Yeah.
just I don't think they're as open about it. Yeah.
Interesting. So we have 8 minutes left. I might just ask you to wrap it up. So, what are the three most important things for a successful recovery? I left that as the last question.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to my notes so I don't forget anything. Yeah. Okay. And again, like there's so many, but I tried to narrow it down.
Hmm.
Okay. So number one, I would say you have to have zero food rules,
Hmm.
food restrictions, or limitations of
Hmm.
any kind.
Hmm.
Like you gotta truly, I think that's why the term all in was developed,
Yeah.
because you truly have to do it.
Yeah.
And it takes time, so it's okay if that takes you some time, but absolutely that has to be in place.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's really also about being honest yourself. You have to really ask yourself, are there still little rules left?
Right?
So
Right?
sometimes you kind of,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because I always find that you'll discover it when it's like you go to a party or you go to the grocery store and you see something and you're like, I kind of want that, but I'm really scared, and then
Yeah.
that's when I got to challenge myself and prove. And when you do, I think this is so important to say, over time, what happens is you start proving to your brain that this stuff actually isn't that scary.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you, over time, will see yourself getting better, and you don't have this like magnetic pull to like food and
Yeah.
thinking about food all the time.
Yeah.
And so your brain goes, oh, actually, that's okay.
Yeah. And also, I think
Obviously, what's that? Go ahead.
I just I think fear is such a good advice for us. Whenever we see something that gives us like really the goosebumps and makes us afraid, I think that's something we should look into. Either we try it out or really ask, where does that come from? How can we solve it? And
Exactly.
yeah, so
Exactly. Oh my gosh, yes. Number two, I would say, is to at least temporarily, see, even I can't speak English sometimes, um, remove or at least drastically limit
hmm.
your exercise
Hmm.
and rest and sleep as much as you possibly can.
Hmm.
You're not lazy, you're not gluttonous. Your body desperately needs this healing. And when you're trying to exercise while your body's trying to do all this healing, it just doesn't work. And I
Yeah.
always liken this to something like if I were to break my leg, God forbid, right?
Yep.
You have to heal.
Yep.
Obviously, the difference is a doctor's not going to tell you this. So, like, about recovery, but with your leg, it
Yep.
really is the same thing.
Yeah, it's obvious, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go get up and go do a HIIT workout or go for a run. You
Yeah.
know, you're going to let heal, and your leg's going to be swollen, and it's going to, so when your body gets all swollen and puffy all over and you feel exhausted and all this, it's because on a systemic level, your body has to go through this extreme healing process. It takes a lot of time. So yeah, rest as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Super crucial.
I can agree on that. That really, really, really did the job for me.
Yeah. Amazing. And then number 3, and I know we already talked about this, but it's still worth bringing up again, is like uncover your root cause of your eating disorder and learn ways of building and practicing self-love and self-confidence alongside.
Yeah, perfect. There's nothing I would add to that except the questions. So if people want to see you, I'm sure many of my viewers already discovered your channel, but maybe you can do a little more advertisement for yourself then.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jessie Riemann on YouTube, at Jessie Riemann on Instagram. And those are the 2 main areas you will find me.
Perfect. And I hope whoever has not watched your videos yet will join into it. I just recently also stumbled over one of yours because I was, I'm 2 years now all in and I feel really comfortable, but I'm also a person, like whenever I'm stressed, I'm so hungry. I'm not eating anymore, right? So like I forget about it. I'm not hungry. And then I was like, wait a minute, I really, really have to take care of this because, I started thinking like, oh, I'm losing a little bit of weight now because of that. I don't want this. I don't want this. I have to take care of it. So I watched one of these videos from you where you said, that the unconscious restriction. Yeah. And I was like, wow, look at this. This is exactly what I have. I don't mean to, it's like waking up at the end of the day, it's like, oh my God, I just had a banana. How? It's like, how does that work? Yeah.
Right. Well, that's just it, is like, you're absolutely right. And that's a later phase for some of you, but you will reach this point where food really, like you said, it's just, you don't think about it. You're not starving all the time. So it's easier to forget about it when you get busy.
Yeah.
So at that phase in recovery is when you concern yourself more with, okay, am I like self-care? If I was going to give a 4th thing that's so important to recovery, I don't know why I just went like this. Or is to have, really make sure you have a good self-care routine. And part of that, because the same thing happened to me, which is why I made that video, is I would get super busy and forget to eat after I had been recovered for a while. So it's like checking in with yourself, taking quiet time, meditation, checking in with your body, like taking breaks from work, away from your computer, away from your phone, away from stimulation is what I'm trying to say. Where you can go, oh wow, I'm kind of hungry, but you have to do that in order to let your hunger cues come through, because they can't do that as long as you're like focused and stressed and and it's like you said, it's so easy to forget, and then all of a sudden you're noticing you're exhausted. I don't know about you, but when I do that, all of a sudden I'll start like putting on weight again.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, my body's trying to tell me like it needs me to feed it. So it's like having the opposite problem, which is so funny.
It is totally. I would have never thought this if someone would tell me, you will forget to eat. And, it's like 2 years ago, I ate so much, like, I don't know, maybe 8,000 calories a day for a month. I was really, really hungry.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jessie, I think this is it for today. I'm very, very happy that you took the time and that you offered all your knowledge on my channel, and also that you went through this and you became that amazing woman with so much wealth of knowledge. And I was really honored that you, took the time for me today, and wish you all the best. Many more happy clients that come to you that you can help on the way. That's really what I wish for, that there are more women that, this process will help. Because I think this is what we're meant to be. It's not only about not being hungry anymore, but also you become your true self. You have energy for your family, for your hobbies, the things you love. You become a happy person, and that makes a happier life and a happier world as well. So you're not only doing it for yourself, but for everyone around you too.
Beautiful. Oh my God. I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing. Like, first of all, thank you so much for everything you said. It's such an honor, and I really appreciate everything that you said. Yeah, thank you. And just thank you for doing what you're doing, because I say this every time I meet somebody who is willing to then put this information out on YouTube, podcasts, social media, for doing what you're doing, because we need more people talking about this. And the more people we can have talking about their own experiences, the more people we're going to help. So you're helping more people than you even know. Thank you. You're welcome.
Perfect. That's the
Honor to meet you.
the final point then. All right. So with these words, thank you very much for also everybody listening and watching. If you have questions, as always, you can send me an email, or if you need an eating disorder coach, just contact Jessie. And
if it's about coaching, then I do. My email is donewithdietingllc@gmail.com. So
I'll write it down as well so that we have all the information there.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Madeline.
Thank you, Jessie. Bye, guys.